Have you ever done everything society told you to do, got the degree, landed the job, climbed the ladder, yet still felt an emptiness inside? What if the problem isn't you, but the path itself? Introduction. Today, we're diving into The Pathless Path by Paul Millerd, a powerful rethinking of how we approach work, success, and life itself. Millerd, once a high-achieving consultant on the default path, walked away from prestige and certainty to explore something most of us secretly crave: freedom, creativity, and a life built on our own terms. This book isn't just about leaving a job. It's about questioning the invisible scripts we've been handed and finding the courage to design a life that actually feels alive. Whether you're stuck in a career that drains you or searching for a new definition of success, The Pathless Path offers insights that challenge convention and inspire possibility. Chapter 1. Breaking Free from the Default Path. Paul Millerd opens the book by talking about something many of us can relate to: the default path. This is the life script most people follow without questioning it. Go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, climb the career ladder, and aim for bigger paychecks and promotions. On the surface, it looks safe and successful. But underneath, many people feel stuck, restless, or like something's missing. Millerd shares his own story of following this default path. He did everything right: elite schools, prestigious consulting jobs, the kind of career that sounds impressive at dinner parties. But deep down, he realized he was living someone else's idea of success, not his own. That's when he began to question, what if I don't actually want this life? The big insight from this chapter is that the default path isn't wrong. It just isn't for everyone. Many of us stay on it because it feels comfortable or because we fear disappointing others. But the moment you pause and ask, what do I actually want? You start to see other possibilities. Think of it like hiking. Most people stay on the well-paved trail because it looks safe. But sometimes the trail doesn't lead where you want to go. Breaking free might mean stepping onto a smaller, unmarked path, scary at first, but full of discovery. Chapter 2. Redefining Success. In this chapter, Paul Millerd challenges one of the biggest ideas we've been taught since childhood: what it means to be successful. Most of us grow up believing success looks like a fancy job title, a big paycheck, or a nice house. It's the classic formula: work hard, earn more, and eventually you'll be happy. But Millerd argues that this definition is borrowed from society, not built from our own values. He points out that chasing status and money often leads people into a trap. You keep running after the next promotion, the next raise, or the next upgrade in lifestyle. Yet the satisfaction never lasts. It's like being on a treadmill that never stops. You're moving, but not really getting anywhere that feels meaningful. Instead, Millerd encourages us to ask deeper questions. What does success mean to me personally? What kind of life actually feels worth living? For some, it might be freedom to travel. For others, it could be more time with family, working on creative projects, or simply having peace of mind. Think of it like reprogramming your GPS. If society's version of success is set to destination, career ladder, you have the option to reset it to your own destination, whether that's time freedom, adventure, or making a difference. Chapter 3. The Power of Questioning. In this chapter, Paul Millerd shows us how asking questions can completely change the direction of our lives. Most of us rarely stop to question why we're doing what we're doing. We follow routines, chase goals, and tick boxes because that's what we've been told is normal. But the truth is, the questions we ask ourselves often shape the life we end up living. Millerd shares how simple but powerful questions, like why am I working this job? What do I really want out of life? Helped him step away from autopilot and start making conscious choices. The problem is, Many of us are scared to ask these questions because the answers might challenge everything we've built so far. He compares it to peeling back layers. At first, you ask surface-level questions like, do I like my job? But as you keep going, you uncover deeper ones, such as what kind of person do I want to become? Or what actually brings me alive? It's kind of like when you realize you've been watching a TV show out of habit, not because you enjoy it. The moment you pause and ask, do I even like this? You give yourself permission to change the channel. Chapter 4. Embracing Uncertainty. In this chapter, Paul Millerd talks about something most of us try to avoid: uncertainty. We like plans, stability, and knowing what's coming next. That's why the default path feels so comforting. Steady paycheck, clear promotions, predictable milestones. But Millerd argues that if you want to create a life on your own terms, you have to make peace with not knowing exactly how things will turn out. He admits that stepping off the default path felt terrifying. There were no guaranteed paychecks, no boss giving him a clear to-do list, and no obvious next step. But instead of seeing uncertainty as a threat, he began to treat it as space to explore, create, and discover what he truly wanted. Think of it like traveling without a strict itinerary. At first, it feels risky. You might get lost, or things might not go according to plan. But often, the best memories come from the unexpected detours: stumbling into a hidden cafe, meeting a local who shows you around, or finding a view you'd never planned to see. Millerd suggests that uncertainty is not something to fear, but something to lean into. It's in the unknown that new opportunities show up. Opportunities you'd never encounter if you stuck to the well-worn script. Chapter 5. Money is a tool, not the goal. In this chapter, Paul Millerd tackles one of the biggest myths about success: that money is the ultimate prize. From an early age, many of us are taught to see money as the main goal. Earn more, save more, and spend more, and you'll be happy. But Millerd flips this idea on its head. He argues that money should be seen as a tool, not the destination. He explains that while financial stability is important, after all, we all need food, shelter, and security. Chasing wealth for its own sake rarely brings lasting happiness. In fact, the endless pursuit of more often leaves people stressed, burned out, and feeling empty. It's like filling a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much you pour in, it never feels full. Instead, Millerd encourages us to think about money in terms of what it allows us to do. Does it give you freedom to spend time with family, to travel, to pursue a passion project? When money becomes a means to design the life you want, not the measure of your worth, you start to see it differently. He compares it to owning a toolbox. The tools themselves aren't the goal. You don't collect hammers and screwdrivers just to have them. You use them to build something meaningful. In the same way, money should support your values and choices, not dictate them. Chapter 6. Designing Your Own Life. In this chapter, Paul Millerd shifts the focus to something both exciting and scary: realizing that you are the designer of your own life. Most people live by someone else's blueprint: society's version of success, their parents' expectations, or the default path that feels safest. But Millerd argues that once you step off that script, you get to draw your own map. He points out that designing your life isn't about finding one perfect plan. It's about experimenting, trying things out, and seeing what feels right. Instead of aiming for certainty, you approach life more like a series of prototypes. Just like an artist sketches rough drafts before creating the final piece, you test and adjust along the way. Think of it like cooking without a recipe. At first, it feels uncomfortable. There's no step-by-step guide. But as you taste, add, and adjust, you create something that feels uniquely yours. Life can work the same way. Millard also stresses that designing your life requires paying attention to what energizes you versus what drains you. Maybe you notice you feel alive when writing, building, or helping others, but exhausted by endless meetings. These clues are like signposts pointing you toward a more authentic path. Chapter 7. Unlearning Work Conditioning. In this chapter, Paul Millard digs into something many of us don't even realize we're carrying: the conditioning around work. From a young age, we're taught that our value comes from being productive, busy, and achieving more. The message is clear: work harder, prove yourself, and maybe then you'll be enough. Millard calls this a kind of cultural programming. We measure our worth by how many hours we put in, how prestigious our job sounds, or how much we earn. Even our conversations reflect it. So, what do? Is usually the first question we ask someone. The problem is, this mindset can leave people feeling trapped, like their whole identity depends on their job title. He shares that when he left his corporate role, he felt lost at first because so much of his identity had been tied to his work. Without the structure of long hours and clear goals, he had to unlearn the belief that being constantly productive was the only way to matter. Think of it like wearing glasses with a wrong prescription. You see the world, but it's blurry and limited. Once you take them off and adjust, you realize there's a clearer, wider view available. Chapter 8. Play, Curiosity, and Exploration. In this chapter, Paul Millard reminds us of something most of us forget as adults: the importance of play and curiosity. As kids, we naturally explore, experiment, and follow our curiosity just for the joy of it. But somewhere along the way, we're told to get serious, focus on results, and stop wasting time on things that don't lead to a clear outcome. Millard argues that this mindset limits us. The pathless path, he says, thrives on exploration. It's not about having everything mapped out. It's about giving yourself permission to follow what excites you, even if it doesn't make sense at first. He shares how some of his best insights and opportunities came from side projects, hobbies, or ideas that didn't look productive on the surface. Curiosity often leads us to unexpected places, sparking new connections and passions we'd never find if we only stuck to rigid plans. Think of it like wandering through a bookstore without a shopping list. You pick up random books, flip through pages, and stumble on something that inspires you in a way you never expected. That's the magic of play and exploration. It opens doors you didn't even know were there. The lesson is simple but powerful. Life doesn't always have to be about chasing results. Sometimes the most meaningful discoveries happen when you let curiosity guide you. By bringing play back into your life, you create space for creativity, joy, and surprising opportunities. Chapter 9. Inner Freedom over Outer Approval. In this chapter, Paul Millard tackles one of the toughest parts of living differently: letting go of the need for other people's approval. From childhood, many of us are trained to seek validation: good grades to please teachers, career success to impress family, or lifestyles that look good on social media. But Millard points out that when we constantly live for others' approval, we end up ignoring what truly matters to us. He shares how stepping off the default path forced him to face this head-on. Without a traditional career title or a steady paycheck, he worried about how people would see him. Would they think he was lazy, lost, or failing? But over time, he realized that true freedom comes from within, when you no longer let external opinions define your worth. It's like being an actor who finally stops playing a role for the audience and starts living as their real self. At first, it feels vulnerable, even scary. But the relief of not having to perform for approval is liberating. Millard encourages us to ask, am I living for me or for others? Inner freedom means making choices that align with your values, even if others don't understand. It's about replacing the question, "What will people think?" with "What feels true to me?" Chapter 10. A lifelong journey, not a destination. In the final chapter, Paul Millard ties everything together with a powerful reminder. The pathless path isn't about reaching a final destination. It's not about finding the perfect life, career, or formula for happiness. Instead, it's about embracing life as an ongoing journey of growth, change, and discovery. He explains that many people stay stuck because they treat life like a checklist: graduate, get the job, buy the house, retire, and then finally enjoy freedom. But this mindset keeps happiness always in the future. The truth, Millard says, is that there's no finish line. The real joy comes from learning, exploring, and evolving along the way. He shares that once he let go of the pressure to figure it all out, he felt lighter and freer. Every step became an opportunity to experiment, to adjust, and to enjoy the present moment rather than obsessing about the end goal. It's like going on a road trip without a fixed destination. At first, it feels uncertain, but along the way, you discover hidden towns, beautiful views, and meaningful experiences you would have missed if you were only focused on the endpoint. The big message: your life doesn't need to look like anyone else's, and it doesn't need to be finished to be meaningful. The pathless path is about staying curious, open, and present, treating life as an unfolding adventure rather than a race to the finish line. Conclusion. So what does the pathless path really teach us? At its core, it's a reminder that life doesn't have to follow a script. You don't have to chase someone else's version of success, stay stuck on the default path, or live for the approval of others. Instead, you can choose curiosity, embrace uncertainty, and design a life that actually feels alive and true to you. Paul Millard's message is both simple and bold. You're free to step off the treadmill and walk your own way. It won't always be easy. You'll face doubts, fears, and probably some raised eyebrows from others. But the reward is inner freedom, joy in the present moment, and a life built on your terms. If you've ever felt like something was missing, or if you've ever wondered, is this all there is? This book is a powerful nudge to pause, reflect, and maybe even choose a new direction. But don't just take my word for it. The Pathless Path is full of personal stories, insights, and practical wisdom that can help you rethink the way you approach work and life. If you enjoyed this summary, make sure to like this video, subscribe to AudioBookCAPS, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more book breakdowns like this. And I'd love to hear from you. What does success mean to you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for listening, and remember, the pathless path isn't about arriving somewhere. It's about enjoying the journey.